Welcome to the It's Been Said podcast. I'm your host, SAI Executive Director Lisa Ramey. Today's episode is a special edition of the It's Been Said podcast. Dr. Dana Schon, SAI's Professional Learning Director, will discuss her perspective on leadership life fit. She'll offer her insights on this topic periodically over the coming months. Let's hear from Dana.
Hello, this is Dana Schon, SAI Professional Learning Director, coming to you today with conversations about honing your quality leadership life fit. As we think about leadership life fit, you may be asking yourself, well, I've heard Dana talk about this before, but I don't exactly remember why I'm not talking about a work-life balance. Let's start there. What even is work-life balance? And why is it challenging or problematic? I'd like to offer you a variety of reasons about why work-life balance is an ineffective construct for how we engage with both work and our life in general. First of all, when we think about work-life balance, we are always chasing after the unknown. I mean, what even is work-life balance? Does it mean showing up to work at 7:45 and staying till 6? Does it mean showing up at 6 a.m. and leaving at 4:45? Does it mean working on a weekend? What is work-life balance? It really defies a shared or common definition. And so the implication of that is that it keeps us chasing after this elusive, unknown outcome. That's one of the challenges with work-life balance. Another challenge with balance is that it presumes we're all the same. That somehow, if we all would get to work at 7 in the morning and leave at 5, or get there at 6:30 and leave at 4:30, that we would attain this ever elusive, miraculous work-life balance. But the reality is that we are all unique and we all have different preferences. How many of you are night owls? How many of you are morning people? How many of you aren't really sure? You're neither. Regardless, the point is that we each have different and unique preferences. And so we're not all the same. And this idea of a single answer doesn't serve us well, which creates yet another challenge with balance. It presumes that there's one right answer. And if we could just figure it out, we would miraculously have the ultimate joy and happiness. The other challenge with balance is that it leads to unproductive guilt. I would imagine we've all found ourselves in that space where I'm at home and I'm thinking about work and I'm feeling guilty that I didn't spend that extra 30 minutes, which probably would have ended up being more like an hour, responding to that email. And it's weighing on my mind as I'm trying to spend some time with my family. Or I'm at the office spending time on that email when I'm feeling guilty and judging myself for not being home for an earlier meal with my family, with my friend, with whomever is important to me, in addition to the people that I get to lead and serve at work. And so we tend to beat ourselves up. And I know a lot of you have heard me say, let's avoid shoulding on ourselves. And I need to enunciate that especially clearly when I'm on a podcast. We need to stop shoulding on ourselves. Oh, I should be, or I should have, no, that leads to that unproductive guilt that is associated with this whole idea of work-life balance. Also problematic about balance is this idea that our lives are somehow a 50-50 split, right? Like literally speaking, balance would suggest 50-50. And I know you can disagree with the idea of that little literal interpretation, but let's just go there for a moment. Do we really want to spend 50% of our lives focused on work and then 50% on everything else that's important to us? Everything else in terms of time with friends, time with family, exercise, focusing on our finances, focusing on our spiritual life. So again, that doesn't seem very logical or in service of who we are as leaders either. Another challenge with balance is that it fails to take into consideration the ebb and the flow of a school year. There are times, though I'm convinced not too many anymore, but there are times where there is more of an ebb or a flow in the school year, where you might find yourself at 3:30 some afternoon thinking, wow, I'm in a really good spot. And at that point in time, run for the door, go treat yourself to something special. But the idea of balance seems more rigid and less flexible than what we would need in a school space because there isn't an ebb and a flow. At the beginning of the year, it's the open houses, it's the meet and greets, the first day of school routines, it's learning new routines, it's greeting parents, it's changing schedules, all the things that are happening that create a little bit more intensity at that beginning of the year time. Well, work-life balance doesn't recognize that. Another issue I have with balance is that it fails to recognize the seasons of our lives. Those of you that are new to your roles, you know that you're going to be spending more time at work as you get started. You're looking to develop relationships. You're looking to learn the new routines. You're looking to understand the way that we do things around here. You're meeting parents. You are meeting other community members. And so, inevitably, all of that learning, that steeper learning curve, anytime you start a new position, doesn't really fit with that whole idea of work-life balance because work-life balance doesn't recognize that this is a season of your life. And it's not to say that those of you who've been in your positions a long time aren't fueling those relationships. You absolutely are. And at the same time, you've developed some automaticity around some of the other routines like navigating emails, receiving phone calls, working through processes and protocols for hiring and an evaluation. You understand and know those things in a way that frees up more cognitive energy and more time for you to focus on some of the other things that are important to your work. So, work-life balance doesn't recognize these seasons of our lives. I love Marcus Buckingham, and his comments on work-life balance resonate with me strongly as well, and offer another reason why this whole construct of work-life balance doesn't serve us well. Marcus Buckingham would say that the whole idea of balance leads to stagnation. Because when we have everything exactly the way we want it, we might be tempted to say, don't move. Everybody, everything, stay right where you are right now. And Buckingham would say that's the recipe for stagnation. Instead, how do we figure out our relationship with work in a way that fuels us, gives us energy to wake up in the morning and come back for another day? That is what Leadership Life Fit is all about. Leadership Life Fit is a shift in perspective. And you might be saying, okay, Dana, we know you're a former English teacher. You love words, which is true, by the way. I do love words. And I would also offer that there is rich and abundant research that speaks to the significance of words and word choice and how we choose to frame different things. And so it does matter. It does matter how we frame something. And work-life balance just doesn't feel good. Think of it like this. I could tell you in the nicest tone, in the friendliest body language, hey, everybody, sit down and shut up, please. And just saying that feels icky to me. So I would offer that words definitely matter. In fact, I would share with you Michael Lewis in the Undoing Project he's a famous psychologist, talked about the fact that he told people they had a 90% chance of surviving surgery. So the group that he said, hey, 90% chance of surviving surgery, 82% of those then said, yep, let's move forward. I want to move forward with this surgery. But when you told a group that they had 10% chance of dying from this surgery, which again is the exact same situation, but just a different way of framing it, only 54% chose that surgery. So think about that. That is 28% fewer people moving forward simply because the situation was framed differently. So again, how we frame things makes a difference, the language that we choose. And that's why I love this concept of a leadership life fit. When I first came to SAI, I was very concerned about leadership and sustainability. We know that sustainability and leadership is attributed to increases in student outcomes. You matter. And there's a whole plethora of research around the significance of school leadership, and sustainability is a simple piece of that. And so I was committed to thinking about how do we support or help you uh, last in your roles. And I studied and have been studying now for 13 plus years this whole idea of work-life balance. And early on, I realized that doesn't serve us well for all the reasons we just talked about. And so, if not that, then what? And that's where I identified this phrase, leadership life fit. The idea of a fit honors the uniqueness that each of us brings. It honors our preferences. It honors our wholeness as a human being. Think about fit. I like to give the example. I have three sisters. I'm the shortest, but we're all fairly close in height. And so while we wore the same size in jeans while we were living at home at the same time, none of us ever wore each other's jeans. And it's because we each preferred a different fit. What worked for one, what was comfortable for one of us, wasn't necessarily for the other. And I think that's true for Leadership Life Fit. It recognizes that your fit, if you're brand new right now, might feel a little tight because you're spending a lot of hours at school learning all the things we've talked about, the new routines, developing new relationships, finding out how we do things around here. And it's not to say that just because I'm a veteran means that my fit is comfortable. There are times, as we know, where the fit is uncomfortable. And then we are at choice as to how we want to navigate that. And so, again, thinking about this whole construct of fit and all the reasons why balance doesn't work, these are the same reasons that fit does work. Your leadership life fit honors the seasons in our lives. Sometimes our fit is a little bit tighter, and sometimes it's very comfortable. And my preference isn't your preference. And so, what brings me joy, fills me up, complements my fit might be vacuuming. I love vacuuming patterns on my carpet. It feels good. And you can see the results of your work. I mean, we don't always get to see that in education, right? And maybe for you, it's mowing patterns in your lawn, or it's spending time fishing, or it's spending time solving a leadership challenge. And that fit works for you. Maybe your fit involves a different set of hours at school than my fit would involve. And the beauty of Leadership Life Fit, again, is that it honors each of us in our respective roles. Again, how we frame things makes a difference. And for me personally, Leadership Life Fit makes a lot of sense. Again, it's an invitation for you to think differently about your relationship with work. And so when we think about Leadership Life Fit, we still want to consider how do we achieve that fit that brings us the most joy and happiness in all that we get to do. And so I would offer the first thing to think about is how I'm managing my energy. How I manage my energy impacts the quality of my leadership life fit. And I love the energy check, right? Thinking about how am I showing up? And so as we launch into this thinking about pursuing a quality leadership life fit, what I would like to leave you with for this month is consideration of my energy is introducing me before I ever say a word each time I enter the room. Is my energy the kind of energy worth catching? Is the way that I'm showing up in my own home, in this staff meeting, at this board meeting, contributing to things going better? And if I am in a tough spot, what's the littlest thing I can do in this moment to up level? Maybe I need to take a few deep breaths. Maybe I need to take a quick walk around the building just to clear my mind. Maybe I need to call my RPP, my responsible processing partner, and get some things off my chest for 2 quick minutes so I can shift and be a contribution to the space that I get to occupy. Again, what's my littlest thing? Because while it'd be great if we could take this year-long sabbatical, that's not real life. And so we need to be thinking about what's our next littlest thing. So as you launch into this month of September, what's your next littlest thing in pursuing a quality leadership life fit? Thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to sharing more tools and strategies to support you in pursuing a quality leadership life fit.